Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gershwin, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we talk about what orcs do when they're not in battle. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K content every single day, and if you have any suggestions or if you want a certain topic covered in one of our videos, comment down below. But with that said, let's get into 40 facts on what orcs do when they're not in battle. The Orcs are one of the most dangerous alien races to plague the galaxy. They are a savage, warlike, green-skinned race of humanoid beasts that are found all over space. Across the stars, there have been isolated orc worlds, interstellar orc realms, massive orc empires, and orc hordes that roam the stars upon gigantic space hulks. Within each orc empire, a culture of barbarism festers as millions of greenskins coexist in a society where might makes right. All orcs must prove their worth on a daily basis, and the only way to do so is through brutal acts of violence. The Orc Way of Life is as straightforward and brutal as the orcs themselves. Much like their approach to everything else, orcs do not waste time pondering why they do things, or how they might do them better. Instead, they simply act, instinct and ability driving them on in a never-ending cycle of violence and conquest. When not in battle, the bulk of the orc population is constantly fighting amongst themselves. Usually these fights start off as simple hand-to-hand brawls, but can quickly lead to each orc swinging choppas at each other's heads. The reason for a fight varies, but ultimately, to an orc, it doesn't matter. An orc fights simply to fight. The constant fighting works to organize the orc hierarchy. Orcs instinctively obey those larger than themselves, but if the orc senses the slightest weakness, he will challenge whomever he thinks he can beat. Most orc boys separate themselves into small groups called mobs. These mobs can range from 5 to 30 boys. The bigger the mob, the safer the boy will be from assaults from other mobs. Orcs that do not fit in will oftentimes be beaten to death or exiled by their fellow orcs. This is why it is important for new orcs to find mobs. Becoming part of a mob is a matter of proving that you are the orc that other orcs want to charge into battle with. A self-imposed initiation is when an orc usually picks a fight with an orc already part of a mob. If the orc is smart, he will fight the weakest member of the mob. Once he wins, he will be challenged by any mob member that sees him as a potential threat to their spot in the mob hierarchy. The orc that finally defeats the new guy will be the one that the new guy follows, and those he defeated will follow him. Of course, this only works if the orc doesn't die during this unofficial initiation. Once the new orc finds his place in the mob leader, called a nob, will lead his boys in a variety of violent and brutal activities. Challenges for rank will always keep the hierarchy of the mob changing, but any nob worth his chops will keep order long enough for a couple of mob fights. The goal of any worthy mob of boys is to establish its own territory. It needs this territory to establish itself as the best mob around. But also, territory is a means of revenue. Orcs trade in teeth. Orc teeth are the currency of orc culture, and the best way to get more teeth is to beat it out of the skulls of other orcs. When the mob has control over an area, any poor sap unlucky enough to wander through their territory will either have to fight their way through or have their teeth removed and skulls caved in. A nob will order his boys to patrol the mob's territory. Depending on the size of the area, some orcs might ride around in war buggies or war trucks, waiting to find a passerby to rip to shreds with their big shootas. But most boys will simply send their Gretchen lackeys to keep an eye out for intruders. Orcs tend to be lazy and forgetful, and only war and the preparation beforehand really brings out their innate talents. It is up to the nob to keep his boys actively fighting. If an orc feels he hasn't had a proper fight in a while, he will go looking for one. The first place he will look is within his own mob. A nob that can't find a proper fight isn't a nob worth following, and should be beaten to death or exiled from his own mob. Because of the size of most nobs, this means it might take a couple boys to get the job done, but the whole process fulfills the boys' thirst for carnage. Mobs enjoy running raids on rival orcs as often as they possibly can. These raids can sometimes be planned out and involve elaborate tactics and actual mission goals, but more often than not, they are as simple as charging into the rival camp, guns blazing before they even reach the front gates. Loyalty to most orcs is a foreign concept. If an orc is tired of getting beat by another mob, he will abandon his own in the hopes of getting a better fight with a mob that has just obliterated his own. The orc will have a tough time being accepted into the new mob, but if he survives the initial beating, he will be on the front lines of the next mob raid against his former mob. This constant warring means that orc mobs come and go incredibly fast. The average lifespan of an orc mob is only a couple of weeks. This doesn't mean there hasn't been mobs that have lasted longer. The ones that have been around the longest are filled with some of the toughest orcs. While these mobs are filled with some of the most veteran orc boys, the mob has to maintain a constant flow of new recruits to replace their ranks after every victory. Membership into a mob like this requires a truly gruesome act of violence. Some orc boys show their worth not by how many rival boys he has decapitated, or how many arms he has torn off. Some boys contribute to the mob by devising ways of bringing in more teeth. These orcs use extortion as their primary tool to rake in teeth, because the majority of orc commerce is run by Gretchen. Orc boys work with runt herders to extort Gretchen businesses. Gretchen businesses vary, but if an orc sees a successful Gretchen carrying teeth, he's going to take every last teeth and puree the little shit. But only the most wise orcs will allow the Gretchen to run his business, and in exchange for protection from other orcs, the Gretchen will give the majority of his earnings to his new overlord. Failure to comply leads to death for a little greenskin, so most Gretchens agree to these terms. Orcs also are known to fix races. Bike, deathcopter, and buggy races are all subject to the backroom dealings of a wise orc. Many times a bike race will be held where all but one vehicle is timed to explode mid-race. At the end of the race, everyone is too busy cheering on the destruction to notice that only one orc miraculously survived. And those were some of the things that orcs enjoy doing when they're not in battle. Now, if you've noticed, if an orc is not in battle, he is either fighting or on his way to pick a fight with one of his own kind, because that is just the orc culture. What's interesting about orcs is that they're very, very predictable, but at the same time, they're extremely entertaining. So I love creating lore for these guys. This video in particular was shorter. There's a whole lot more ideas that I want to put out there. But I need more time, so I'm probably going to create a part 2. It's going to be the daily life of an orc, so subscribe to the channel to check that out. If you enjoy this type of content, the type of content where we actually sit down, we write the lore, we're not pulling this out of thin air, of course. We're taking bits and pieces of what GW has said about orc culture, putting in some of our own thoughts into it, and then giving you guys what I think is an accurate description of what an orc is like in 40K. So if you like this type of content, please share this with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, or whatever social media you guys use. If you guys share this on Facebook, you're basically telling YouTube, hey, this video right here is something that I want to see more of, and support this channel because they are creating content that I enjoy watching. So it really helps out the channel whenever you share our videos, specifically these types of videos. And of course, if you want to support us a little bit more, jump on over to Patreon. A simple $1 a month helps us create more videos for you guys, but if you can't, we understand. Simply by liking, commenting, and sharing, it helps out the channel. But with that said, let's move on to a very special message. So every month we do a subscriber appreciation giveaway, and it's already a whole new month. We're in the month of September. And like I said last month, every single giveaway we're going to try to do a starter set. The reason for that is a lot of our viewers don't actually play the Warhammer 40K game or even collect the models, which is, I think, interesting, because that's really what got us into Warhammer 40K and the Warhammer 40K universe. But now with Space Marine and Dawn of War and all these video games, it's understandable why a lot of viewers are more or they're introduced to Warhammer 40K through the video games. But either way, we want to get people involved in the hobby of collecting the miniatures, because the miniatures are amazing, and what better starter set to start out with than the Orc race, my race. These are the guys that I collect, and this box set is absolutely amazing. It has something that I don't even have, a Death Dread, and the reason I don't have a Death Dread is because in the game he's actually not that great. He's very slow, and then when you get him into close combat, he dies pretty easily. But he's an amazing model. He's awesome to just have, build, paint. He's gonna look awesome. And then you also have a Pain Boy, your Orc Boys, and your Knobs. So in order to win this guy, all you have to do is, number one, be a subscriber, because this is a subscriber appreciation giveaway. Number two, like this video and share it with your friends on Facebook or Twitter. And then number three, comment down in the comment section below. You can comment whatever you want and however many times you want, but remember, if you spam, YouTube is going to block your comments and everything that you do is going to go to waste. So be sure to don't spam, basically. Yeah, that's the best advice I can give you. If you want to come in here and, you know, every day post a comment, you could try to do that. But yeah, be careful. Don't let YouTube mark you as a spammer. It's really important that you guys set your YouTube channels to public, because we always check to make sure that the winner is a subscriber and that he commented, liked, and shared on this video. And the YouTube channel is going to let us know that, but it only lets us know that if he is, or if your YouTube channel is public. So make sure that it is set to public. And of course, stay tuned, keep watching our videos, because the last subscriber appreciation giveaway stuff, there was 2 people that didn't respond. We gave it away, or we announced winners again, but the 2 didn't respond the first time. So make sure to stay tuned. The winner is going to be announced a week from now, so stay tuned for that. But again, good luck, guys, if you decide to participate, and thank you so much ahead of time for liking, commenting, and sharing, and just coming in here and tuning in every day to watch us read you the lore of Warhammer 40K. But with that said, this was Gershwin with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.